Everybody, it's nice to see a full gallery this evening, and also welcome to those viewers who are watching the meeting via the live stream. I'll just check if the live stream is on. It is now, so welcome to those viewers at home. If I could ask you to all be upstanding. Deputy Mayor Migdale, if you could please read the opening prayer.
Almighty God, we ask you to guide us in all our discussions, to show goodness, honesty, understanding and wisdom in all that we undertake to do. May we respect each other's views at all times, and we ask all of this in your name.
Amen. And Councillor Perkoff, could you please read out the acknowledgement of country?
On behalf of councillors, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, on which this meeting is taking place, and show our respect for elders past, present and emerging.
Thank you. You can all take your seats. Note that without prior approval, any recording of the meeting is prohibited. No action should be taken on any resolution of council prior to written advice from the city being received. Item 1 is the official opening, and I declare the council meeting the 28th of May 2024 open at 6:30 p.m. Item 2, apologies. I have apologies from Councillor Joe Ferrante and Councillor Lisa Thornton. 3, approved leave of absence. I have nil. 4, disclosure of interest. There was 1 disclosure from the Audit Committee meeting held 20th of May and 6 disclosures from the Committee and Resources Committee meeting held 21st of May, which are listed on tonight's agenda and displayed on the screen behind me. For tonight's council meeting, Councillor Andrea Criado disclosed an impartial interest in item 4.1 as she lives in the surrounding area that could be affected. Councillors, are there any other disclosures this evening? Item 5, petitions. I have nil. Are there any unverified petitions, councillors? There are none. Item 6, responses to previous questions from members of the public are taken on notice, and those public question time responses were published in the minutes of that meeting. 7 is public question time, so we'll get straight to it. And we'll start by inviting Principal Craig Monaghan, if you'd like to come forward. If you'd just like to start by pressing that button on the bottom corner there, and you can leave that on now and just leave it on for everyone.
Sure.
And start, all we need is your name and suburb and then your questions.
So I'm Craig Monaghan, work at St Andrew's Grammar as principal in Dianella. The documentation provided was inadequate and did not provide sufficient information on activities and potential impacts to the environment or the neighbouring residents. It did not mention the school at all, despite being so close. Previous reports and studies provide significant amount of information which the proponent chose not to include. First question is, with the upgrade to industry noxious material, what are the safeguards that we as a school have that, for example, asbestos is not allowed to be airborne at a site, depending on where you take it from, between 200 and 670 metres away from our playgrounds.
Thank you. Ms Lumbaka.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the question. So officers do have the same concerns as the community and the school about this matter. We relayed those concerns to the Department of Planning. The asbestos management plan and the dust management plan had inconsistencies, and city officers advised that that needed to be looked at together. There were a whole raft of other concerns raised, the key one being the incompatibility of the land use, and that then filters down to the actual environmental impact. So we have concerns with regard to those matters as well.
Thank you. Even though we support the idea of reducing waste and landfill through recycling and creating circular economy, the location clearly is not right, so close to homes and especially the school. Reason include impact on air quality through dust pollution, heavy vehicle emissions, noise pollution, odour, potential fire hazards, traffic congestion, etc. In this built-up residential area, are the councillors aware of what buffer zones will be expected and will be implemented by the Planning Commission?
Thank you. Ms Lumbaka.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Officers provided the interim response and the final response through to councillors, so councillors do have that information at hand. Those responses outline the required buffer distances. They outline all the relevant pieces of legislation. It also details that the Department of Health and the Department of Water and Environmental Regulation are not supportive of the proposal. So city officers did relay that through to councillors, and the responses outlined significant concerns with the proposal to the department.
Thank you. And my last question is, the site has been reserved as a future regional recreation and sporting facility since 1963. The community has been waiting for more than 60 years. I accept this primarily the responsibility of the state government to deliver this, but we're concerned on the lack of vision for development of the site as a regional sporting facility is attracting these type of negative proposals. What actions has the city taken to advocate for recreational facilities or elevate to the WAPC the importance of delivering this outcome to the community?
Thank you. Mr Quirk. Oh, Ms Lumbaka.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the question. So the site is reserved for parks and recreation under the Metropolitan Region Scheme. Any development on this site would need to be aligned with that use, and that is why I mentioned the land use is completely incompatible. The proposed land use is completely incompatible with the reserve. As you mentioned, it is state government owned land, so we aren't in control of that, and we can't compel any developer to do any type of development. You know, what we receive is what we have to assess, but in saying that, the city has, through its public open space strategy, identified that there is a shortfall in the area, and that site is a great site for that use. So through the public open strategy work, the city has advocated that position.
I just want to finish by thanking members of the city for the individual conversations and the support we've had to date. So thank you.
Thank you. I might just jump one ahead and ask Norma D'Souza to come up because it's the same item, so we'll follow on. The microphone's already on, so all you need to do is just state your name and suburb only, and then you may start with your questions.
Norma D'Souza from Dianella.
Thank you.
Good evening, councillors, government officers, ladies and gentlemen. My 3 questions. Question 1. The site zoning up to September 2023 was mixed business zoning to provide a high-quality business park. What changed thereafter?
Ms Lumbaka.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the question. The site is reserved, as I mentioned, under the MRS for Parks and Recreation. The adjoining site to the east, 272 Victoria Road, Marabooka, is zoned development. Under the city's local planning scheme number 3, it's designated as zoning of mixed business through the local structure plan. So it's that adjoining site that's mixed business. That initially was included in the application, and that was included in the consultation documents that the community saw. After consultation, the applicant removed that lot from the proposal, so that's not a part of the application as it stands. So the site that the Department of Planning will be considering is the Parks and Recreation lot.
Thank you. We note that Council opposes this proposal. Going forward, what action will the Council take to ensure the proposal is rejected in order to safeguard the health, safety, and well-being of the residents? The community expects this.
Thank you. Ms Lumbaka.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Officers, as I've mentioned, have provided several responses through to the department outlining all of the concerns from all various business units in the city as well as state agencies. When we undertook consultation, we made the decision to extend beyond the standard 200-metre community consultation radius to 500-metre because we acknowledge that this has an impact on the broader community. So through our referral responses, we also advocated to get an extension of time to that referral due date to the department so that we could actually provide all of those comments to the department as well as the actual submissions with sensitive information redacted so that the department can consider all of that and understand the serious community opposition to the development.
Thank you. My last question. How will the Council proactively engage with the residents to keep them appraised and work in collaboration to seek the intended outcome, which is rejection of the proposal?
And look, thank you for that question. As stated before, whilst the city is not the landowner or the decision maker in this process, the item is before council this evening. We have all of the community's details, the ones who've rolled up, and I know, and we'd like to thank the school as well for particularly engaging early with us, so we're aware of community concerns. The city will continue to stay in contact and let you know the avenues that are available to the community to advocate for your position, and obviously your ward council has been heavily involved and are able to be approached as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Leisha Jack. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, councillors, staff and members of the gallery. My name is Leisha Jack from Karrinyup. I'm asking questions about the proposed revised street, tree and reserve policy. Firstly, I support Councillor Dudak's foreshadowed motion for a tree workshop before the policy is decided on, because it appears elected members have a lot of concerns about tree safety, tree health and survival outcomes even prior to the drought, and also the costs related to tree management. Sorry, I've had a bit of a cold, in the city. The information in the workshop needs to address these issues. The old adage is a healthy tree is a well-maintained, healthy, well-maintained trees are safe trees. Elected members need to know if the city uses best practices in relation to tree management and and where the city stands in relation to other local governments here in WA and around Australia in this regard. The city is a very wealthy local government. There's no reason why the city should not be implementing best practices. So question one is, Mr. Mayor, can you tell me if the city manages its trees, if you believe the city manages its city trees to best practices in Australia, by Australian standards? And do you know where the city sits compared to other local governments in WA and Australia in this regard?
Thank you for that question. So I'll answer it because you asked me. Look, I am making endeavours to find out as much as I can. In fact, myself and the CEO spent 5 hours with the City of Sydney to understand. I'm comfortable that our practice, and I'm comfortable that our practices are really good. Are they best practice? I still don't know, and I'm sure there's room for more. I think most of your comments were spot on that you just made, and I think there's room for improvement. And I guess that showed in the reasoning for council foreshadowing a workshop to understand how the city can better look after and protect its trees.
Mr Mayor, would you and councillors request that an independent arboricultural expert conduct a comprehensive analysis of where the City of Stirling's tree management processes are to identify all of its strengths and weaknesses and to see?
Certainly that's something council could consider during the workshop process.
Okay. Question 3. The City of Stirling does not include city trees as assets in its financial statements. The City of Sydney includes trees and park trees, street and park trees as finite assets, along with roads and street signs as finite assets. The City of Stirling only lists roads as finite assets, doesn't mention city trees as assets at all. Can WA local governments include trees as assets if they want to? And if not, is there a directive from the Department of Local Government or Treasury that states that it can't?
Now, that one's beyond my pay grades. Ms Hawkins?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thanks, Ms Jack, for the question. The council can include trees as part of its financial statements, but we do work within the Australian accounting standards, which provide the guidance to the councils on what assets we should include in our financial statements. And we don't believe that the definition really fits. So the definition under the Australian accounting standard is about, it's basically a living plant used in the production or supply of agricultural produce. And that's why, as a council, we choose not to include them in our financial statements. In addition, the trees are generally never sold. So in terms of the value in the statements or the replacement, it doesn't really tell you a value or add value. So what we do as a city is that we have a register of our trees, which is for operational purposes, but that doesn't have an asset value attached to it for that reason. In terms of your other question, there is no directive from the Department of Local Government or the Treasury that states that we can't do so. We just make the determination because when we look at the financial statements, we are looking at the accounting standards.
Question 4.
Is it? You know there's only 3 questions.
I know,
so
but we don't sell clubhouses either. They're physical assets, building assets, but green infrastructure and trees are often referred to as city assets. Other councils around Australia do put in, as the City of Sydney does. So once they're on the, so could the city please consider including
certainly
trees as assets?
And certainly, again, as part of a further council workshop on this, I think some of the learnings brought back from Sydney around whether it be financial or not, still treating them with the same data, knowledge and understanding and treating them as an asset is certainly on the cards. So we're happy to take all that on board.
Okay, thank you.
Sam Danucci.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Sam Danucci from Chiltern Hill. I attended the committee meeting last week, and first of all, councillors, I'd just like to thank you for rejecting that the safe active street for Hector Street for Chiltern Hill. Secondly, I'd like to thank you for asking those really hard questions the other night, because you were asking the really good questions, the ones that the locals have been asking. Thirdly, I just want to thank you for that Tuesday night, because it was so much fun. My neighbour and I went away and said, this is better than watching TV. It was really a good night. Yeah. Look, my question is really simple because I missed this the other night.
Mr. Danucci, you need to purchase a streaming service or something.
I'm a school teacher. So, look, Mike, I missed this the other night. There's $750,000 available. Is that money still available to be used for other road projects, bike paths, cycle paths, whatever? Around the city? That was my only question for this evening.
Not that particular amount. So effectively, if council had have passed to move ahead with that, and obviously it's still on the agenda this evening for council to decide, it would be on this year's budget. If the Safe Active Street doesn't proceed tonight, then that money won't be available. But there is other funds that are used for other cycleways and other structures in the city.
Thank you. That's all I wanted.
Thank you. And Roland Hadley. And as you come up, I'll just move to extend, or not move, I will just rule to extend question time for a further 15 minutes. As we have...
Good evening, Roland Hadley, Woodlands. In the April edition of Messages from the Mayor, he states that the city has been working closely with Transperth to monitor the growing popularity of Scarborough Beach, primarily on Thursday sunset markets to increase the 990 bus service. Will the Mayor provide documentary evidence to this effect and details of this claim, or is it yet more spin from a mayor who suffers from incurable Scarboroughitis? As the winter market now operates on Saturdays from 3 o'clock to 8 p.m, does this warrant extra additional buses? Was this discussed?
Thank you. So the bus service was, the commentary around the bus service wasn't necessarily our data, it was done by Transperth. But that was for the summer markets. We haven't yet determined for the winter markets, but we're happy to provide you all of that in writing. And I encourage you to get down there. It's a fantastic place, Mr. Hadley.
Well, you regard Scarborough as the international city of the world.
Yes.
Me and thousands others don't regard it. There's nothing there. There's a swimming pool, and that, there's a pathway, a promenade. But is it international compared to cities of the world? I don't think so, Tim. I don't think so. Second question. On behalf of the Ewan Street Community Group and other irate payers, we question why a tender for $350,000 for Christmas lights has been called for, in addition to the $90,000 allocated to supply lighting to a clock tower. Where else? A nice little earner for somebody. Has anyone estimated how much this extra electricity will cost ratepayers if this council proceeds with this stupid waste of monies? Please advise which bright spark had this brilliant light bulb moment. Our members expect a large reduction in the rates this coming year, and they wonder why the council continues to squander public monies in this manner. An extra couple of bedrooms at the Women's Refuge, buy or cultivate more trees, repair cracked pavement might be something more positive, in our opinion. Thank you. That was question 2.
All I can say is Merry Christmas, Mr. Hadley.
In April, I saw financial details of matters relating to the trackless tram fiasco. Is the operating budget the same as the minor works budget? Either way, please list details of expenditure. Concerning the symposium, cost of hire of premises, hire of ancillary equipment, refreshments, catering, cost of transport for attendees, accommodation fees, speakers' fees, printing of tickets, how many tickets sold, cost of sterling staff wages, overtime, welcome functions and gifts to Chinese delegations, cost of the TT video production, cost of a 6x4 metre banner attached to a council property, the cost of removal of trees, plants, bushes in the council grounds and replacement. The very limited information which has been supplied by Miss Wollstonecroft that the cumulative and potential audience of 1,222,950 and free media to the value of $119,815 is both nonsensical and meaningless. Similarly, the positive feedback provided on the trial can hardly justify and support a business case. Asking a 10-year-old kid if they enjoyed the free journey and presented with a specially printed bag of goodies, what else are they likely to say? If a free trip on a 4-seater golf cart or a go-kart would produce the same results. Complete rubbish, Miss Wollstonecroft, rubbish. We noted in your brief information that the $23,725 was spent on a tram charger and a sustainable fuel cell. I believe the Mayor stated at a council meeting that the Chinese company provided their own. Please explain. And where is the tram charger now? Thank you.
Thank you for that question and statement. I'm guessing you're not a fan. We'll respond to you in writing, Mr Hadley. Are there any other questions or people who would like to ask a question that I've missed? If not, we will move on, and I'll move to item 8, which is applications for leave of absence. Councillors, are there any requests for a leave of absence this evening? No indication. We'll go on to number 9, which is confirmation of minutes. Councillors can have a mover and a seconder to accept the minutes of the ordinary meeting of council held on the 14th of May. Move Councillor Kristovich, seconded Councillor Perkov. And just a show of hands, councillors, to approve those minutes. And that is unanimous. Thank you. Announcements by the presiding member. Item 10. Councillor Lagan, as chair of the audit committee, I'll invite you to.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm very pleased to advise that the City has won its 10th Gold Award in a row, including Best in Sector, for the second year in a row at the Australasian Reporting Awards, which was held in Sydney, for reporting on accountability and transparency. The City is the first and only local government in Western Australia to win its 10th award in a row and be inducted into the Chair's Commendations Honour Roll. The Best in Industry Sector Award also recognised the City of Stirling as having the best local government annual report in Australia. Annual reports are a key reporting mechanism for the state government's integrated planning and reporting framework and ensure accountability and high performance across the local government sector. A big thank you to everyone who contributed to the development of the annual report, and a special thanks goes to the core working group members, Michelle Wilsoncroft, Sean Smith, Danielle Cavey, Margot Veering, Nathan Conway, Clayton Chipper, Cressida Cullity, Jane Hogeven, and Liz Lowry for producing another quality publication.
Yeah, well done. Thank you, Councillor. I'll move on to item 11, which is unresolved business from previous meeting of Neil. 12 reports and recommendations of committees. What I'll do is actually, with your indulgence, councillors, we'll skip 12 for now and go straight to item 14, which is notice of motion for consideration. Councillor, I'm not sure what you're... No, I'm just... Okay. So we'll go to item 14. So if that's all right with everyone, I just think we've got a lot of people in the gallery who probably don't want to sit through the whole meeting to hear this one. It's a notice of motion. Item 14.1, proposed notice of motion, Councillor Damien Judici, page 166. Over to you, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, look, the notice of motion has written up there that the Mayor writes to the Minister of Planning, CCing to the Chairman of the West Australian Planning Commission, highlighting the inappropriateness of the proposed industry Noxious solid waste depot development at lot 821, house number 501, Alexander Drive, Mirrabooka. Look, tonight we've had two representatives, I suppose, present this, and from my perspective, I think there's far more people that are thinking this is inappropriate. Would you like me to continue on? Because I would like to. Is that all right?
No, we haven't even got a second.
Yep, I did. Okay.
So I will say, is there a second? So I've got Councillor Lagan as your seconder there. Is there anyone opposed to this? If not, I'll indulge you for a short bit, Councillor Judici, if you'd just like to do a brief statement as to the reasoning behind this.
Yes. Yeah, well, look, it's, as we've already been discussed tonight, it's reserved parks and recreation. This is a solid waste depot, noxious industry, potential odours, noise, potential contamination, asbestos, noxious uses would potentially be coming to this precinct, and given its reservations, parks and recreation, it's totally inappropriate that that use be approved in this location, and hence I suppose the serious objections that have already been put forward by our officers and will be then presented as part of this written statement back to the Minister.
Thank you. There is no debate on this item. It's moved Councillor Judici, seconded Councillor Lagan. I'll put that to the vote, councillors. Thank you, and that is unanimous. That means it's carried. So that's all there is on that item this evening. You are welcome to stay, of course, if you'd like to stay, for all those people. Probably feels like a big trip out for something quite simple. But I can assure you the city will stay in contact with all of you and work through you on this process. All right, councillors, we'll go on to 12, reports and recommendations of committees. We'll start with the items from the Audit Committee meeting. Nothing is required to be pulled out from these. Is there any you do wish to pull out this evening, Councillor Ree?
I don't have to pull it out, but I'd like to raise a question on 12.1A1, please.
Is it a question we can just deal with and then move them all on block? Is that, yep, I'm happy to do that if it says pulling it out. Yep.
With regard to the procurement policy, could the Director of Finance please confirm what the procurement policy is at the moment with regard to supporting products and services within the City of Stirling and within Western Australia, please?
Ms Hawkins?
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Thanks, Councillor Ree. And before I talk to the policy, I am conscious that we'll be coming back on the buy local with a workshop to council, so we're just getting a date in the diary for that. But currently we have two. We have either a Stirling business or a local business. And a Stirling business is those that are registered in Stirling or that have premises in one of the suburbs. A local business is a business that's either registered, has premises or is supporting the local economy, so that can be through employees or using another business within the city. So those are our classifications at the moment, but we are working through options that we'll bring back to council soon.
Happy with that.
So just to clarify, just these are some of the questions I've been given. Just to clarify that if a business, say an accounting firm that wasn't in the city, but we could still use it, it would still be permissible under our procurement policy because therefore they are providing a service and it is within Western Australia.
Ms Hawkins?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And Councillor Ree, no business would be prohibited. The idea of the buy local is if it's under the tender threshold, then they would have preference if it was the same value for money. With tenders, we apply a 5% weighting if they hit the criteria, but it certainly doesn't exclude any supplier within Western Australia or Australia, etc.
Happy with that. Councillors, there's nothing to be pulled out, so we'll go to Councillor Lagan. This is for Audit Committee. Councillor Lagan, as Chair of the Audit Committee.
Thank you. I move the balance of the report and thank the committee for the work. It was a long meeting, but very valuable.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Kristovich. I will put the reports from the Audit Committee to the vote. That is unanimous. Thank you, councillors. So the members of the gallery and those viewers at home, please note that all of those Audit Committee recommendations from Audit Committee have now been adopted by exception resolution. And we'll move on to Community and Resource Committee. Whilst none of these are required to be pulled out, I believe, Councillor Giudice, you'd like to pull out 12.2 ES2. Councillor Migdale.
Mr Mayor, I'd like to pull out 12.2 ES3.
Thank you. Are there any others that are required to be pulled out this evening? Councillor Ree.
Yes, please. 12.2 CC1 and 12.2 F1, please.
Thank you. That's it. Good. Let's jump to 12.2 ES2, the local connector road between Pearson Street and Empire Ave. Councillor Perkoff as committee chair.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move the committee recommendation on page 52.
Thank you. Noting that Councillor Giudice just has an addition.
Okay.
We might test it this way first. Councillor Giudice. Yep. So, Councillor Giudice, are you happy to second it and just do this addition? It's not changing the intent. It's just adding probably the step in the process in terms of discussion. Are you happy to accept that, Councillor Perkoff, as chair of the committee?
I am, Mr Mayor.
Is there anyone opposed to this? No, in that case, you may ask a question.
Yes, I suppose part of the reasons for the additional recommendations to this is, I suppose the report was done quite thoroughly, and there was some work that was done previously with a modification in 2022 that I'd just like, through the chair, to ask administration, has that had an impact such that the design levels of Churchlands Greens roads are now operating within, I suppose, the design levels anticipated? Because I think though those modifications have, I think, been beneficial, and I would just like to hear the administration's advice on that.
Mr. Guillemot?
Through you, Mr Mayor. Yes, based on the traffic count surveys that we've done for the various roads within Churchlands Green Estate, the modifications that were done at Pearson Alumni have significantly reduced the through traffic through the estate, and now those roads are operating well within their practical design capacity.
Thank you. And I suppose hence the reason why I think we need to, if there are sort of ongoing concerns with traffic and the like going through Churchland Green, we need to look at, I suppose, the network as a whole. I appreciate that the option of Pearson Street and Empire Avenue will have I suppose, a higher level, maybe a district or higher again movement network, and there may be some other network amendments that could actually support, I suppose, alleviating these potential issues in Churchland Green.
Sure.
So hence the reason for my recommendation.
And certainly I think that's why everyone's reasonably happy with it. The intent is this is one component. It's a network that's been worked on by the councillors here for a long time, and it's probably seen that whilst they've been effective, they've all been band-aid solutions to what effectively could be a single solution. So I will put that item to the vote. And that is unanimous. Thanks, councillors. 12.2S3, Councillor Perkoff.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm happy to move the recommendation from the committee on page 63.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for this motion? Councillor Olo. Opposed? Councillor Migdale.
Nothing to add at this time, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Olo.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This project's been in the community for quite a while. We haven't, pardon me, the report states that there was extensive, pardon me, extensive consultation with the two of our major stakeholders, with Servite College and St Karen's, and they indicated they weren't fully aware. This project's going to be costing for stage 1 and 2 up to $4.5 million. It's not proving that it's going to be a safe, active street. The street's going to be narrowing. We've had residents that are speaking to me stating they haven't been consulted with the whole project. They're not happy with the whole project. They are not bike riders. There's going to be further congestion in the streets. And not only that, the school children, what I'm hearing from the schools, there's no children riding bikes. So the project is not going to be surfable for the schools or the community. So I will not be accepting the safe active street recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Migdale.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. Let's talk firstly about the origins of this project. As stated in the report, the concept or functionality behind safe active streets goes back to 2009 in the City of Stirling, when Council adopted the Integrated Transport Strategy, which sought to prioritise transport options for pedestrians and for cyclists through their new footpath policy and a strategic cycling network. And then again in 2015, City of Stirling Council endorsed the Integrated Cycling Strategy, And then between 2018 and 2020, the Department of Transport developed a long-term cycling network, LTCN, which I'm sure you're all aware of, which the City of Stirling Council endorsed in 2020. Now, this evening, we have an item before us which, should it be endorsed, will commence the first stage of the east-west connection for cyclists and pedestrians in our city. The benefit of this safe active street, or the benefits rather, are very simple. Number one, going back to 2009, we have talked to our community about implementing a cycling network for them. This is an east-west network. Being a Lawley Ward councillor on the east, where I can tell you now many residents are cyclists, keen and avid cyclists, not to mention pedestrians, they stand to gain from this network that we seem to not have, I don't know what it is, to support. This is what our residents have been asking for a long time. It supports the city's direction of creating a section of cycle path. It supports our direction, this item, right? Number two, safe active streets add far more value to the area than just a plain cycle path. The plan indicates or includes beautification and greening of the street through landscaping, including spaces, creating spaces for over 100 trees to be planted, which is in line with our urban forest strategy. This is exactly what, as a council, we are talking about achieving, this item. When it comes to the schools, I believe there were representatives, Mayor, correct me if I'm wrong, from both schools who attended committee last week, and both of them said very clearly that they weren't dissatisfied or concerned with the safe active street. They both endorsed it. In fact, I remember one of the deputies said they thought it was a very good idea. I was at committee. I listened to that conversation. I took that on board. I also recall...
I'm sorry, councillor.
Yeah.
That's not my recollection.
That is very much my recollection. I beg to differ. So I will state the collection that I have, if that's okay, Mayor. That is the collection that I have.
I'm sorry, I can't accept it. And
All right, fine.
And
okay.
I can read an email out to you from
Okay, that's fine. Then that is not the recollection I had. It was a deputy who said they clearly had no problem with, I can tell you the name of the deputy, David, that's all I can tell you, said they had no problem with the beautification of Hector Street. I recall them saying that. I was sitting very close to them.
Yeah, sorry, my understanding...
I'm telling you my recollection.
Sorry, and that's fine, that's
Yeah.
fine. So the deputy who talked about happy with the street...
Yes.
With the residents...
Yes.
Previously, when you just said that, I thought you said that the principals who did the deputy were supportive.
No, I didn't say that.
So I
didn't
apologise.
say that.
No, there was...
I was speaking about a resident. No, he's not I was speaking about a resident. Excuse me?
No,
I was speaking.
Sure, but he wasn't a
about
resident. His family lived on the street.
Anyway, that person very clearly said they were in favour. But can I just say, more to the point, and most importantly, people, 4,500 mail-outs went out on this item. Over 2,000 residents were emailed. Over 2,000. 170 responses came back, of which 128 supported it and gave reasons why they want to see it happening. 170 responses, 128 supported it. This is not about what we personally feel that we might like. This is about representing residents who were asked what they felt about this, and they gave us a response. And overwhelmingly of the responses, they were in favour of this. So to go against what residents want is not something I would consider doing ever in my role as a councillor representing residents.
30 seconds.
I would ask you all to consider the fact that this is in line with what our council and previous councils have said they want to achieve. It is in line with our strategy. It is in line with City of Stirling's vision. And I would ask you to reconsider this item and think about it. We have the state government offering us $750,000 towards this project, $750,000 towards this stage one. They're going halves with us. It's use it or lose it. It's what people want.
Thank you. Councillor Lagan.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, that point may have clarified it through you, Mr Mayor. Is the total funding on the budget 750 from the city plus 750 from state government, or is the city figure a different figure? It's just for stage one.
Mr Murphy.
Yeah, through you, Chair. So there's 1.5 million on the budget, 750 of the city's money, 750 of DOT's money.
And just further to that, Mr Mayor, if as per committee recommendation that was moved, if the council were to seek further information, is there an end date whether we would lose the funding from state government?
Mr Murphy.
Through you to you, Mr Mayor. The DOT originally gave us the funding for this project to happen this financial year. They've been very patient while we've done the work to get to this point to get a council decision. So if we went back to them, I couldn't guarantee they would extend it, for example, into next financial year. They've been, as I said, pretty patient, and they intended for the money to be actually spent this year. At the moment, they're happy if the project starts this financial year in some form with a council decision behind it.
Can I just ask a follow-up question? Given that we've previously done a safe active street and there was funding involved, and the plan would be to do future stages, has the state government talked about this as an ongoing plan, or has the state government indicated that this is a one-off and then they're not doing any more funding of safe active streets?
Through Chair, no, there is a stream of funding, and it's down to us to apply. We can't guarantee that for future projects we will get funding, but that funding's there for projects that sit on the long-term cycle network. So there is a stream of funding that we could apply for future years, for future stages, whether it's Hector Street or somewhere else, as long as it's on the long-term cycle network.
Councillor.
Just finally, through you to officers, just for clarification, there was some discussion about cycling. I'm a cyclist. I cycle on roads and bike paths. My question is, does the Safe Active Street projects that we do in different parts of the city, how are they aligned directly with our cycling strategy, or are they not? What I mean is, the councillor mentioned that people in Mount Lawley may want to cycle from Mount Lawley out to the coast. I know well that there is no cycle path that's fully connected to that. If our Safe Active Streets funding is to align with our cycle network, then you would think the cycle network, wherever it comes from, whatever part of the city, would all be joined. Is that going to be the case if we continue to fund these kind of projects?
Yes. Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, that's exactly the case. The long-term cycle network seeks to provide a big network across the metropolitan area and crossing local government boundaries as well. And it also seeks that between local governments that the paths join up so that we work together. So yeah, the aspiration is that one day the long-term cycle network will be delivered, and then there'll be ample opportunity to travel anywhere in the metro region on a bike in a safe manner. So that is definitely the aspiration.
Anyone else would like to discuss this item? Councillor Ree.
Thank you. While I'm familiar with the area, but while I'm cognizant of the fact that everybody wants a better way to get from A to B, and they want to get there safely, I think still having a turn-in is an issue. But when I look what happened at Moreland Road, and I can't recall anybody saying that it's good, I think we need to take that into consideration, that sometimes the safest street may only be the safer for the ants, not the people. So I think we need to put it in perspective. So I would support the recommendation on the board, because I think that there are other ways to do things, and maybe the second part of this motion should be that they should be working with the community, with the schools, and I do believe that the master plan is a way to go, because, and I thought that was going to come up somewhere, that we were going to have it as recommendation too, that we look at the whole area. We can't keep fixing one little bit and running the other bit, and
So I will just help clarify that. So Councillor Reid, that part was a separate motion that I think Councillor Thornton put, and the long-term cycling network and the whole thing is coming back to council later this year for us to review. So that was the case.
Well, it's not only just the cycling network. I thought with this one too, because of the traffic, which really needs to be looked at, and the people in the area do. The surprising issue, I think, from the deputations the other day was how few people walk or ride to school. So most people are in cars, and while you might want to do it to encourage people to have cars, this is Western Australia. People come from all over the place, and although we haven't rained for, 4 or 5 months, as soon as it rains, everybody's in a car. And a lot of crazy things happen with people in cars, so that don't drive normally. So, you know, I think we need to look at it a lot better. And I think we need to come back and look at the whole Safe Street activity. And I will be putting up a motion, not tonight, but after consultation with some learned people, about how we're going about schools. I mean, I get so many complaints with students coming in from schools that they now can drive. People, young mums coming in when you've got K to 12. We've got parks near it. We need to have a better strategy keeping people safer around schools. And I need to wordsmith it with intelligent engineers first. Thank you.
Councillor Hatton.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Yeah, look, I'm speaking against the SAS and supporting the recommendation, or the Safe Active Street is the SAS, it's not the Army. Look, it is the road to nowhere. I mentioned this last week. It's absolutely the road to nowhere. Bureaucracy gets it wrong sometimes. With the cycle network that's put down the freeway, that main network there, I remember we got a big map to view it, and it was very hard to view all the various aspects of that big project going down the freeway. What eventuated was, I got caught out a little bit, because what they did on the freeway is they opened up the suburbs to the freeway with access points. Now, right where I live, on our beautiful park that I've been by for 30 years, they had an access point right at that park where the turtles cross, the ducks nest, everything happens there, the kids play. Within 300 metres on one side, there was another access point, and within 400 metres on the other side, there was another access point. There was 3 within 1.2 kilometres or thereabouts. So the residents arced up, and we got a 400-strong petition because the residents knew their area very, very well. And they didn't want that there. They liked the concept, and that's like the principal said, they liked the concept. We all love trees, we all love access, we all love safe mobility, but the bureaucracy gets it wrong. What we did, and we got the petition going, and we approached the State Member of Parliament as well, and we got that particular access point knocked out of the plan. Now, how often do you get main roads to retract something? Never. Okay, the point I'm making is that bureaucracy have got it wrong in this case, as far as I'm concerned. I know the area well, being the former Member of Parliament. I know Stoneham Road, and I did mention how important Stoneham Road is as an access road running from Lawley Street through to Royal Street, through to Powell, and then up to Green Street. It's a well-used road. If you don't use that road and you get blocked at the Safe Active Street joint there, you know, where it crosses over Stoneham, and you have to give way with all the traffic that needs to go to schools and the rest, the traffic is going to get gridlocked, or people just get annoyed and they will go elsewhere. Where are they going to go? They're going to go back to Cape Street, drive past Chewett Hill Primary, drive past another primary school, and then drive past the high school. It's going to gridlock the area. It's going to make it unsafe. Now, the principals have expressed that themselves. I brought it to their attention and they agreed. Yes, in concept they agree with it, but it's the wrong place. East-west, running up to Bankshire Street, stage 1. Crossing Wanneroo Road, still going up a bit more of a hill after the hill down the bottom.
Point of clarification, Mr Mayor, please.
What's your clarification, Councillor?
Through you to officers, in terms of it being the wrong place, can I ask how the officers decided on this route?
No clarification. Councillor Hatton is entitled to have this debate on this.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. So it goes up to Bankshire Street, stops there, stage 1, goes up through Yokine, stops there, and then eventually it goes out to Mount Lawley. Who's going to use it? The principal has said down at the Chewett Hill end that not one kid, not one student rides a bike. We'd love them to, don't worry, we encourage them to. So it is the road to nowhere, wrong location. East-west, do we need east-west connections? Absolutely. Do we need them? Absolutely. I'd suggest that Councillor Migdale maybe doesn't know the location. I'm suggesting it in the way that you've spoken tonight.
I don't think you need to suggest that. I think just stay to your debate.
Okay, because I do know that area very, very well. So the support is there in principle only. There will be impacts on parking. It was expressed that the parking down at Grenville, which I know pretty well, people park off the road on the verge and get access into the park. That is going to be affected. That was brought up. The diversion of traffic I've mentioned. And yeah, look, it is a gridlocked area and it's just the wrong location. Thanks.
Thank you. This was debated heavily at committee.
Yeah.
Councillor Papard.
I just have a question to city officers, if I can ask, please. Before the state government put down the dollars on the table, and before the City of Stirling identified the location and draw up the plans, were there any inquiries from residents or the school about making this particular location or street a safe, active road? Can I ask?
Ms. Guillemot.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. No, the selection of the route wasn't based on, I guess, a direct request from schools. The selection of the route was based on what would be the most appropriate route in terms of low traffic volumes, low travel speeds, low crashes, and what wasn't a bus route. So there's been a lot of comment about whether or not safe active streets are supported in general, but not on this route. Well, compared to every other east-west road, McDonald Street, Robert Street, Cape Street, Lawley Street, this is the best route. That's how the route was chosen based on all those factors. This is the best route. It can't really be clearer than that.
No, thank you. Councillor Papard.
Thank you for that, through the chair. And I guess I'm trying to ascertain as to whether this has been specifically community-driven, or has it come about as a result of the funding from the state government and the plans drawn up by the City of Stirling. So if you can maybe unpack that a little bit more and find out, let me know if at all possible, if there was any community desire before this was proposed by the City of Stirling. I'm trying to ascertain whether it was driven by the community before this money was put on the table and this location identified.
Mr. Guillemot.
Sorry, just to reiterate, no, it wasn't this route. The selection of this route wasn't community driven. What was community driven was a desire to have better cycling and better cycling routes, and that's why it was up to officers to determine what was the most suitable route to choose from that would facilitate that cycling network.
Councillor Kristevich.
Thank you very much. Look, I just want to make a couple of quick points. Firstly, I think with the community engagement, both direct mail outs, door knocking, social media posts, etc., I think it's fair to say from the numbers that well over 10,000 people were contacted in one way or another, mostly by direct mail and door knocking by the looks of it. And out of 10,000 people, there were a total of 222 responses, of which obviously a percentage were supporting and a percentage were against. So that sounds like a very low number. And in terms of safe active streets, they're obviously very important, but I know, for example, if we've got $750,000 spare in the budget, that there's plenty of streets in the coastal ward that people would like to be safer and more active. And I can guarantee you there'll be a huge community demand, and potentially we could even do some petitions if need be. So yes, we do want to make our streets safe and active, but I think there's a lot more we can do around the city rather than focusing on a place where 222 people commented. From what I can hear from the deputations and the community more broadly, people don't want it. I know we talk about this big picture state government initiative. Well, you know what? If it's that important to them, they can fund it, they can build it, they can do it. They've got the money, it's easy for them. They can build the whole network in 1 year rather than us trying to, go backwards and forwards, doing a half-baked job like Moreland Street in some cases where it should have been done a lot better. So in terms of, again, that $750,000, maybe that needs to be invested in Moreland to bring that up to speed to what we think a safe active street should be rather than what it is at the moment. So I think there's a lot more that could be done in that space. And that's why I wouldn't support this particular program in its current form going forward. I think the state government can do better. I think we can do better. And I think there's a lot more important priorities at the moment.
Councillor Perkoff. Closing up.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just running off a very robust debate and some great deputations last week. I always, sort of get a bit of a twitch when I hear about Moreland, and it's like it's been stigmatised, like everything's going to turn out like Moreland, because Moreland didn't turn out right. Is that right or not? Look, I don't know, Mr. Mayor. I hope, the
Point of
councillors
clarification, I just have to clear that up.
No, let's.
It is very successful.
Councillor, he's
On
closing.
completion, it was very
wasn't
successful.
a question. Let him close.
And my apologies if I upset Councillor Proud. I hope I didn't, but it's stigmatised in that way. You needed to hear that word. That's how it's perceived. So that's the problem. So, and that keeps getting brought up all the time, and we're going to be lumbered with this bloody Moreland things, pardon the language, Mr. Mayor, forever. And that'll be my closing. Thank you.
That's good. Sounds like you've picked a fight with Councillor Proud. And that does close debate, so I will put this item. Remember, you are voting for the committee recommendation, which was council does not approve the implementation. And that recommendation is carried with 4 councillors Crowdo, Dudek, Judici, Hatton, Kristovich, Olo, Papard, Ree and myself, and against councillors Lagan, Migdale, Perkoff and Proud. Next one to be pulled out is item 12.2 CC1, review of emergency calls protocol. So Councillor Perkoff as chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mayor. This committee recommendation, which I'd like to move, is on page 100.
Thank you. So we're missing a chair, and I was just making sure they were here for the vote. Is that Councillor Pard was here for the vote, obviously, because it was recorded. Yes. Councillor Ree, you've pulled it out. Do you just want to add an addition? Yeah. So let's try it. Let's see if we can get this done easily. Second. Oh, you didn't want to put an addition. You're happy just a second. Yeah. So let's hear your addition. Yep.
The addition is that whilst I think that this is a really great start and very much needed considering what happened, but we are coming into the drainage season. I've already got people complaining. I'd like to have it, and there's not in here, it doesn't really go through the drainage policy, that we have, the addition is that the drainage, I don't know if you call it policy, drainage issues, drainage, what adjective you'd like to use, Mr. Gimoff?
Say the rest of it. Say the rest of it, and we'll work it out.
Well, that the drainage the drainage emergency management procedure be incorporated into this protocol, emergency calls procedure protocol.
Sure.
So the drain, because it doesn't address the drainage issue of getting the sand, getting the trucks, getting everything in there. And while the staff might say it's there, when we had the issue at Wembley Downs, it wasn't there.
Sure.
And I've got people
and that's understood.
So they might want to wordsmith that better.
Councillor, are you happy just to keep that in?
Just to add the drainage in.
I'm happy, Mr. Mayor. I just want to get a bit of advice. Is that wording enough to inject this into that?
Yes, I think the intent
motion?
is there. And I know,
is it okay?
Yeah, I think it is. And Councillor Ree has talked about this before. I think officers are happy and they understand the intent of it.
In that case, I'm happy to let it go. Yep.
Yeah, it's just adding a little bit more in, because I think it was missed in the first part, the Councillor Ree's intent when she first put this motion up. So that's fine. No one's opposed. We'll put that to the vote. That is unanimous. Thank you, councillors. And the next one, 12.2 F1, schedule of accounts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move the committee recommendation on page 143.
Councillor Ree, would you like to second with a question? Is that what you want to do? Yes? Your question?
Yes, please. My question is with regard to a couple of things. On page 19, the Stitch in Time service, I thought that was a making bags. Are we making bags?
No, it's a mental health initiative. It's a mental health initiative that runs out of Karrinyup Community Centre.
Oh, that's all right. It's just that there is the same thing and someone asked me and I did check on that. The other thing is that on pages 13, 30 and 45, we've got insurance and the premium for insurance is increasing every year. What is the total insurance premium that we're giving to LGIS and if there's anybody else?
Sure. We'll see if Ms Hawkins can do that. Otherwise, I might have to provide you that offline if that's all right.
Mr Mayor, thanks Councillor Rees. So the total insurance, so public liability property vehicle is this year 2.2 million is our budget for this year. It's 2238300 if you need the actual figure, sorry.
Is that only for LGIS?
Yes, that's the premium to LGIS, yes.
So, through you, do we have any other insurances, bearing in mind that there's an issue going on with public liability insurance at some of our, but particularly that came up through COVID, which we did discuss, that even though they could sell all their bottles and chips and everything, they were still having to pay insurance and it was on our land. And I did ask for us to review the public liability insurance, the building insurance, contents insurance. So is this the only thing insurance that we're talking about?
Ms Hawkins?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, Councillor Ree, and we did look at that at the time, but we are unable to insure those effective third parties. So we did look at that with LGS, but that's not available to us in terms of the club's insurance.
Councillor Ree?
Thank you. I'll have to revise that. I'll come back to that afterwards. On page 9, the environmental consulting, 2 questions. One, what was it for? Is it associated with the Stirling City Centre project? Secondly, is it's associated with the Herdsman project? And thirdly, if it either one of those, I thought we'd already done in-house reports.
Ms Hawkins?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm sorry, Councillor Ree, I'm not sure that's a water consulting one. Let me check and I'll come back to you.
Thank you. And my last question is regard to the solar power on page 13. Why is the question?
Ms Hawkins?
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, Councillor Ree, is that a provider or a category? Apologies.
I'm not quite sure, that's why I don't know what it is. I mean, I would imagine we've got solar power here, we're using it, why are we paying someone for it? Or we did suggest before, and I suggested quite a few times, that we actually have batteries at some of our places.
So let's take that offline and Ms Hawkins will get back to you on that one. So there's no one opposed to these, so we will put the schedule of accounts. That's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Councillor Perkoff, finish it off for us.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to move the balance of reports, but before I do, can I thank the councillors and all the staff that ground through nearly 4 hours of a meeting last week. It's a meeting to remember, it really was. A lot of important stuff was done there. So, balance of reports moved as. Thank you, Mr
Councillor
Mayor.
Proud is happy to second. I will put the balance of reports. Just got one to go. Councillor Olo, just your vote, please. That's unanimous. Members of the gallery and the viewers at home, please note that the remainder of the Community and Resource Committee recommendations have been adopted this evening by exception resolution. We'll now turn the page. (13) is reports for consideration, and we have none of those, so we'll go to 15. Notice of motion for consideration at the next meeting. Sorry, I thought I'd missed one there. Are there any notice of motion for the next meeting, Councillor Ree?
Yes, thank you. Okay, thank you. A report be provided to the Planning and Development Committee meeting biannually on the work statistics of the Environmental Health Business Unit with regard to a number of inspections, number of prosecutions, health promotion activities, etc., commencing in August 2024. Secondly, environmental health promotion of good hygiene practices, etc., display be incorporated into the community safety tent used at community events throughout the city, and that's my reasons for the motion.
That's it. Self-explanatory. Councillors, are there any others?
Yep.
If,
Where's my other
if
one?
not, I have a couple.
Another one.
And the first one, trying to get me, you stop. The first one is proposed not as motion with illegal smoking implements, that the city investigate the opportunity to undertake changes to the planning framework to ban the trading and supply of illegal vape and cigarettes, smoking-related implements, and that the Mayor writes to the Minister for Health and the Premier calling for faster reform and stronger legislation in restricting these shops. And the next Q is a review of rights of ways, and the notice of motion is that a review of the City of Stirling Local Planning Scheme number 3 as it relates to rights of ways, the city's local planning policy 6.5 developments and subdivisions abutting rights of way and the city's rights of way management strategy is undertaken with reference to the bonding requirements for right of ways and the process followed by the city in respect of scheduled whole right of way upgrades where portions of the right of way have already been improved by individual property owners. And just to alleviate concern of councillors, it's not to change any right-of-way strategies or anything. It's particularly about the requirement for a property owner to enter into a bond agreement with this. Who's over there? Has someone got their elbow on this? That the requirement for a property owner to enter into a bonding agreement with the city to the value of the improvement works is onerous and unnecessary, and that the requirement for a property owner to undertake improvements to a portion of the right-of-way at their own cost and for those improvement works to be further modified or in fact removed sometimes when the city's rolling right-of-way program takes place is not an effective use of resource nor a good outcome. We'll now go on to, have you got a second one? Sure. Yep.
Oh, there we go. A table, as per discussions the other day, a table providing all the planning and development and community resource committee agendas when any consultation is initiated by the City of Stirling, showing consultation percentages of those respondents that in their suburb is within 100 metres, 200 metres, within the City of Stirling, outside the City of Stirling. And the reason for the motion is a table would make it easier for both the councillors and the public to ascertain the views of the community after a consultation process on a topic and would show how the issue is considered by those in close proximity to the site and those not located within the City of Stirling. This table would also demonstrate the value of the consultation process and procedure as per the discussion at the last council meeting.
That's clear. There's no other notice of motion, so we will go on to question 16, which is questions of which due notice has been given. We have nil. Item 17, new business of an urgent nature. We do have one. It's appointment of Deputy MRC. So given that Councillor Ferrandi is not well, the motion is as you see. Councillor Proud is happy. Councillor Papard is happy to second that. Noting that we have lost the Deputy Mayor for this vote, I will put that to the vote. That's it, and that is unanimous. We'll now go to matters behind closed doors. Can I move in a second to go behind closed doors, councillors? Move Councillor Dudek, seconded Councillor Lagan. Just a show of hands to go behind closed doors. Nice and easy. That is unanimous. Again, noting that Deputy Mayor is still out of the chamber. So if I can ask to close the doors, please. I figure if I've got to read it out, someone should go and open a door. No, councillors, that does bring us to item 19, which is closure of the meeting. I declare the meeting closed at 8:22 p.m. Goodbye to nobody who's there. But good night. Goodbye to the viewers at. We've put the camera back on. Good night, viewers at home. Thanks.